Could you expound on that?
Yeah, what happens is that most people, when we get together again, we get together based upon our pain. So when you're meeting someone, they may be 32 years old on paper, but you're probably meeting a 13-year-old at the time. You don't realize that you're dealing with a 13-year-old, and you don't realize you're a 13-year-old because you're interacting like 13-year-olds, right? Imagine that two people get together, the man who can provide all financially and all that kind of stuff, and the woman who is really seeking someone to do that for her. What would it be like if they were in a conversation like, hey, Bruce, you know why I'm with you, don't you? Because when I was a child, I was neglected, and I need you to make me feel not neglected anymore. And then the man comes to tell her, hey, look, Gladys, the reason why I'm with you is because I have low self-esteem and I need me somebody to control. How you think that conversation might go? Well, they have no other choice but to believe. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we get conditioned from early on, from a child, to believe certain things.
What do you think that people should do? What do you think people should look for instead of this, type of situation, contract deal that, people are getting in nowadays? Or do you think people shouldn't look at all?
Well, that's a very good question.
Hello world. Welcome to another episode of Generational Health and Self-Love. I'm your host, Life.
And it's your boy, Ron Easy.
And today we have a very special guest in the house with us today. We got no other than Dr. Michael Cook. Mr. Cook is a well-known family and licensed marriage counselor who's here to give his expertise on the subject that we have today, which is being a kept woman and exactly what is a kept woman. So, Mr. Cook, can you introduce yourself to the people, please?
Yeah, my name is, they call me Dr. Mike. And sometimes people call me Dr. Mike for a variety of reasons. But what it is that I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I spend my time working with individuals, families, and couples, dealing with old family issues. The one thing about that is that no matter who you are, no matter where you are, you're dealing with generations and generations of stuff that's been unprocessed in your family. So this idea that we have on the show today about a kept woman is probably somewhere in the family history. So I'm here to talk about a few things that I've learned along the way, and really to think a little bit about the psychological and emotional implications of what it means to be a kept woman. I'm just thrilled to be on the show. As I've always said, you got the father and son duo. These are black men doing good work, doing great work in the world, trying to change people's lives. And that's a contrast to what they think that black people and black men are always up to, taking and hurting and robbing, but we're pouring in life to people. So I couldn't be more grateful than being on this show.
Oh man, we appreciate it too.
Yes, sir. Always. And I want to start off the episode by just getting a general meaning or definition of what is a kept woman, or like traditionally and then modern.
Yeah, one of the things about it is that things change over time and people's definitions change over time. But what it means to be a kept woman in just this basic sense is that in a traditional sense, a kept woman was virtually totally reliant upon the man to provide all of the financial resources for the house. That means the house, the food, medical care, whatever it was required, the man was there to take care of it. He essentially turned over his check to his wife, and she went on about taking care of the house. She didn't have to worry about that. She didn't have to go out and put out any labor. Right. And in exchange for that, she would take care of him, make sure he had his food, that he had his clothes ironed, that he had his bedroom shoes waiting for him when he got home. And she would put that loving on him in a way that he would be inspired to go back out and work. Now, there's a modern woman who's a kept woman who in many ways have the same expectations, but I think instead of expectations, it's turned into entitlement, that I'm absolutely entitled to this type of lifestyle because I do all of these things for this man. But the reality of it is that most women don't realize that they lose a great deal of themselves by being a kept woman. As we talked about before, being a kept woman is almost like being a kept animal. If the owner of the animal, he determines when and where the animal goes, when it eats, when it bathes, it takes full control of it. And even if he says he loves the animal, the truth of the matter is he's there to control the animal. So a kept woman in modern times is different from the traditional in the sense that she has a sense of entitlement about being kept.
That's a great answer. And I wanted to say too, when we talk about a kept woman, I think it's two different things that needs to be processed. And I think one is the mind of the man definitely needs to be processed, and the mind of the woman, because even though they're in this relationship, their definition of that actual title of being a kept woman, their definition may be different. Even though they're in a relationship with each other and living out that life, she could have a whole different perception of what she sees as being a kept woman, and he can have a whole different perception of that as well. So those two can clash just on what they see that title of being a kept woman truly is, because he may think, well, this comes with that, and she may think, no, this comes with that. So they might just clash on that alone. And not only that, like when you said some women feel more like an entitlement.
Yeah.
Could that be they feel that way because of whatever he may have put them through? You think that might be a reason, or is they already with that preconception prior to the relationship?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think now what I've learned along the way, particularly working with couples in marriage and working with people who are in partnerships of some sort, what I realized is that most of us get into partnerships and marriages out of our own pain. So people are drawn together out of their pain, not their joy. Oftentimes we say that we're in love and we get this good feeling and get this good vibe, but we wouldn't need those good vibes if we didn't have deep pain to try to offset those vibes. So when you got the kept woman and you got the man who's providing for it, it's often that there are two different levels of pain is colliding together, which actually makes it possible for them to even come together. He may feel a sense of low self-esteem, and that she may feel a sense of needing to be wanted. And when you put two people in a room like that, one needing to boost his self-esteem and one needing to be kept, you got a pretty explosive situation.
And neither one are admitting their underlying issues.
Absolutely.
They're not telling you that I'm acting out this way because I feel neglected, or I feel like when this happened to me, or they're just living these things out and not being honest about the pain that they both endure as children or young adults or teenagers, or whatever the case may be. So
it sounds like something I heard people talk about before. It's called like trauma bonding.
Oh yeah.
But you know what I'm saying, without even saying what has happened in the past, y'all are connecting because of the traumas that's built y'all up to what y'all are now, and that's what allows y'all to be so close, because of some unacknowledged trauma that y'all both have and haven't faced. And then that's why I guess it leads to explosion, because sometimes one person can grow from it, and the thing that got y'all together, whatever trauma or bond, you know what I'm saying, that kept y'all together because y'all was in a certain places, it won't always be the same, you know what I'm saying. And that's why, you know, things start to take a turn in certain relationships, because you start to change.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it in this way too. Imagine that two people get together, the man who can provide all financially and all that kind of stuff, and the woman who is really seeking someone to do that for her. What would it be like if they were in a conversation like, hey, Bruce, you know why I'm with you, don't you? Because when I was a child, I was neglected, and I need you to make me feel not neglected anymore. And then the man comes to tell her, hey, look, Gladys, the reason why I'm with you is because I have low self-esteem and I need me somebody to control. How you think that conversation might go?
That conversation go a variety of ways. It could end up being a fight at the end, or it could end up being a lot of crying and a hug. It just depends on where they at, because they like, people tell you, you know, they want the truth.
Correct.
But like the movie said, you can't handle the truth. A lot of people can't handle the truth and don't really want to know the truth. They say it because it sounds good.
Absolutely.
But in reality, some people are not willing to deal with the honesty of certain situations. And like you just said, for people to just do that, to me, I feel like that would be awesome.
Oh yeah.
Because you can unload, you can unpack all that and not feel any shame, no guilt. You can be vulnerable and not be taken advantage of. That would be great if we could actually do that. But the chances of doing that is like, wow, who's really willing, especially from a man's point of view? Ain't too many men willing to say, hey, look, I got low self-esteem.
Yeah, it ain't happening.
I lack confidence.
It ain't happening.
You know, and the whole time, the reason why a lot of these kept women are being abused behind closed doors, the reason they being yelled at, hit on, or told what they can and cannot do, is because the man is dealing with a lack of self-esteem. He has low self-esteem. He has no true confidence within himself. He's been told by various women throughout his lifetime that they're not attracted to him in certain ways, or whatever the case may be. So now he has a woman who's willing to basically provide his every I want to call it not need, but his every
I think that's a good.
not need, but his need of reinsurance.
Yeah,
that he
his
is
trauma.
somebody. Yeah. He needs that. So now you find yourself a victim in his world, not understanding what's really going on because he's dealing with some unpacked stuff that he's been having on his shoulders pretty much majority of his lifetime, and now he has you there to basically swallow all the guilt and shame that he's been dealing with majority of his lifetime.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's interesting you said the thing about them saying the real reasons why they have their partner around them. You know, if they had that conversation ever really happened, and it's interesting because I think when people are out finding ways to make themselves feel better in every different way that's outside of them in their environment, you know, you can control everything that's outside. You know, that has nothing to do with you, but. So when you go out looking for stuff, that stuff is always changing. It's, you know, the environment is everything's gonna go through a process. So you might find something temporarily that might be somebody you with for some time, but eventually that's always gonna change. But when you find what you're looking for within yourself, you can control yourself always. You have control over, you know, your mind and all that. So then when you find that happiness, you know what I'm saying, or the thing that spark whatever, if you find it within, you can have a stable mind and be okay because. Regardless of what situation you might find yourself in, if you're okay on the inside, then you can get through it all.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's looked over a lot nowadays because not only are we faced with, you know, all the trauma from childhood that, you know, we don't acknowledge, we also got so many distractions, people trying to, you know, the rat race and then social media on top of that, just so many different distractions that aren't as important as we think they are. But they all have served one purpose of distracting us from our own selves and reaching that what I would like to call like an avatar state, being able to be okay in any circumstance, you know, and have that clear mind.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and you're right on the money with that too. I think part of the deal is that most of us, we get trained to hide our pain anyway.
Get trained.
Yeah, we get trained to hide our pain.
Yeah.
We are highly conditioned to hide our pain.
Professional.
Yes, we are professional pain hiders, if you call it. That we are not here to conceal. I mean, you think about it as a child. When you feel like you're hurt, you grow up in certain environments where it says it's not cool for you to be hurt. That you need to be quiet. You need to shut down.
Yeah.
You need to keep quiet. You need to wipe those tears away. You need to keep on moving on. Well, I can say if you took and you go back to the animal analogy. If I took and I spanked the horse day in and day and night, and I told the horse never make a sound, I'm gonna spank you, but don't make a sound.
Yeah.
How long you think that horse is actually gonna live with a clear mind?
Yeah.
How he's gonna say I'm hurt, but I can't speak?
Hold on to that.
You just hold on to it,
and it just builds up. That horse might go crazy and hurt you one day.
He gonna hurt you one day. He gonna kick you in the head. He gonna kick you in the head. And in the same way, we see that happen in these kept relationships. I mean, look, P. Diddy kicked Cassie in the head.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
and she kicked him in the head.
Yeah, now he on trial. You know,
that's what I'm saying.
What's in the dark will come to the light.
Absolutely.
You can.
He spanked her, told her to keep quiet, and them hind legs for years.
Yeah.
All the things that I've been hearing coming out that case that they was going through, because you were saying that is like a modern day example of like a kept woman.
Oh yeah.
In a certain way, and like you said, he was using her to, you know, fulfill his every physical type of sexual whatever need. Desires. And desires, and you can see what that led to. I don't remember everything that they said was done, but just go look at it. It was a lot. I don't even want to mention it.
And she looks, I mean, and the reality of it is that she looked pitch perfect. Had her on magazines, had her on the red carpet, and all behind the scenes that she was getting dogged out.
Yeah.
Dogged out.
And we know that there are a lot of women, even to this day, that say they're kept women that are really, being abused in the background.
Yeah.
They don't have the right to ask their husbands where they've been. They don't have the right to question anything about what he does and when he does it. And they just set up and be pretty as a picture.
Yeah. And what do you think? Like, have you been in your profession? And I know you heard thousands of different stories. Have you ever heard of a couple being in a relationship where every time she leaves or do anything that she has to take the children with her, like the husband or the boyfriend, he never wants to keep the children. He already makes excuses or why she needs to take the children with her. Even if he says, okay, yeah, you've been putting in a lot of work, it's time for you to take a vacation, but you still got to take the children. Is that really a vacation?
Yeah.
What do you say to, if anyone out there going through a situation like that? What do you think about that? What would you have to say about that type of situation?
I've seen that a lot. I mean, this is an old term, but she being low jacked. You ever heard of low jack?
I had.
Yeah, that's an old term. A low jack is where a person put something on your car and they be able to track it down at any moment in time. The kids are like a low jack.
Like a tracking device.
They got a tracking device. Now they got iPhone tracking now. So all they got to do is just track you on the phone.
Yeah.
But, before it was a low jack. And so those kids are more like a low jack. That the man is going to locate her at any moment in time because she's got those kids.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is she doesn't have any voice in the situation because she is being kept by him.
Yeah.
He's funding what the kids want. It's funding her. But at the end of the day, she's lost all her freedom.
Ooh.
There is this old saying that for everything you gain, you lose something. So even if you're gaining from a financial standpoint, you're losing from a psychological and spiritual standpoint.
Yeah.
You don't get anything for free.
No, because I never. How could you be on a How could you be on a vacation? You've been putting in all this work. You've been doing, and your reward is a vacation with kids.
Correct.
That's not a vacation.
No, but you don't own yourself.
Oh, that's why.
I mean, if you don't own yourself, you can't. Again, if you own a horse, I mean, you tell it where to go.
Yeah.
And what to eat.
Yeah.
And how to sleep and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The man doesn't want the lady to have freedom. Now, the truth of the matter is co-participation, because a woman, her trauma makes it possible for him to use her in that way.
So her trauma is why she's a codependent.
There's no question about it.
That has a lot to do why she's allowing herself to be put through certain circumstances.
Well, a lot of times too, that a good statistics and research shows that 1 out of 3 women are sexually abused by the time they are 17 years old. So oftentimes, kept women, they may very well believe all they have to offer is their body.
Because they've been abused.
Because they've been abused at a certain point in life. Their abusers, took command of their bodies, or they were able to do certain things with their bodies for their abusers.
So for a kept woman, in some situations, this is almost like a step up for them because they've been abused. Yeah. So they sexually abused when they as a young child, and so now they get into this relationship and they don't see it as abuse because I guess they go together. He hasn't actually raped her, but he's using her for everything as far as her body, almost in the way as the rapist. But now he has total control because the way he's going about it is more his behavior is more accepted.
And she get everything she wants.
Her materialistic things. You dress nice. You got on the most expensive clothes in the world, but no one's even seeing you because you ain't even allowed to go anywhere. And if you do, like I said, you better have these kids with you, and you better not be gone too long. You got a clock.
No doubt about that. But again, I think what happens is that a lot of kept women, they have it in their minds that somehow if I can get someone to take care of me, then that in some ways is going to overturn my childhood experience. That's going to overturn broken relationships. That's going to overturn whatever. We see it all the time. Anytime we talk about a kept woman, we're almost looking at a mannequin being dressed up. Have you ever seen a kept woman unkept? Have you seen her in shambles?
Yeah.
She always looking as pretty as a picture.
Yep.
Everything is right where it needs to be.
Until they unkept.
It's until they unkept. Exactly.
Until they not.
Or they camouflaging the pain, and they like you say, it's like a mannequin.
Yeah.
You looking good for this man to make him feel good about himself.
Correct.
You constantly reenacting his childhood trauma over and over again. Every time you make yourself up to look good, every time you take a picture next to him, every time he shows you in a certain light, all you doing is helping him deal with whatever ego issues he has growing up, because he sees you as a trophy, so to speak. Look what I got.
Yeah.
I got this, and not only do I got it, I got total control over anything and everything she does. I control who she talks to. She don't even have a family no more, because I disconnected her from her father, her mother, her aunties, uncles, brothers, sisters, any type of family. The only time she has communication with them is if someone has died or a certain holiday or something.
Yeah.
Other than that, they have hardly no communication.
She's very, very limited.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, right? I think about it almost like a clown in a carnival or circus, right? I mean, when a clown goes out, what do they have to do?
Perform.
Yeah.
They have to perform.
Yeah.
But even before they perform, what do they have to do?
They have to dress up.
They got to make up.
Yeah. They got to dress up.
They
yeah.
just can't go out there and just be clownish without dressing up.
Yeah.
So you got to have a particular makeup, disguise, a mask in order to be able to function in that role.
Yeah.
But what happens when they go back to their homes at night and they get in front of that mirror and use those wipes to wipe off that clown paint?
Yeah. That reality settles
It's
in.
not just the paint, might be tears.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so some people may sort of get the impression that there's not a good way to be a kept woman. But the truth of the matter is that there's really no, like someone told me one time, there's just no safe way to use drugs. That you may get away with it from time to time, but the truth of the matter is there's no safe way to be a kept woman.
Because as a kept woman, you losing freedom.
Yes, you're losing freedom,
Independence.
You're losing your own mind, essentially losing your own soul.
Yeah. And, you know, a comparison that ran through my mind, I don't want to go too far off topic, but it was in my head, so I want to say it, is you had mentioned about how first they get it, you know, they were abused sexually as a child or something along those lines. And it reminded me of, you know, people at jobs and, you know, labor before, you know, it was slavery, basically. I'm going back to slavery.
Yes.
How people was giving their labor just for anything, you know, they were abused and all that. And now we, you know what I'm saying, since back then, we got these jobs. Some of them are hard, some of them are different ways, but because we're getting what we want now, we're getting paid, we don't see it as much as like, we don't see it as much of like a chain or a lot.
Sharecropping.
Yeah, we don't see it as like how, you know, it is, because, you know, we got more of what we want out of it, you know what I mean? But if you really think about it, it's getting more and more to the point where like some of these jobs is just like, it's consuming your life, and like you're not, like you said, you're not really as free as you think you are, and you become more dependent over certain things, and we start to become so far away from being able to do stuff on our own, like growing food or being outside or even being with family or just doing the stuff that you would usually be able to do in the past with family. It starts to like break all that stuff down in a way over time. And I feel like that's something you might see because back in the day, they had that time to be and do all those things with the family or, you know, certain stuff. And not saying it was always good, but you still had the freedom to do, you know what I mean? Well, sometimes, depending on where you was. But yeah.
Well, I think you did.
Because some of the stuff we told about slavery, everything ain't what
As
they
it seems.
Yeah, you know, and some of us was on the bad side of that too. So that's a whole nother can of worms.
Well, I think in some ways it's not so mutually, you know, apart from what we're talking about, because in some ways a kept woman is a slave.
Yeah.
And that woman doesn't have the freedom to whistle when she wants to whistle,
Man.
and she doesn't have the freedom to run where she wants to run.
Yeah.
She got a certain amount of cotton that she must pick every single day, just like in slavery. The truth of the matter is that this whole idea of exchanging and controlling people, that's really what is at the heart of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We can talk about prisons, we can talk about, that's all about controlling people.
Yeah.
We can talk about the workforce, that's all about controlling people.
Yeah.
If you think about it, right, we go and we work for labor, we collect money, portions of it and that kind of thing. But the truth of the matter is we turn around and spend the money with the very people that's enslaving us.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a cycle.
the man may pay you, you know, X amount of dollars on the job, but then also he got streaming services where he gonna collect his money right back.
Well, not only that, they get paid before we get paid.
Correct.
Which, you know, what I mean by that is when you get your check, you already got stuff taken out of it.
They already shot holes in it.
Yeah, it's already got holes in it. So you like, damn, okay, well, I grossed $1,200, but I only brought home $9.
Yeah.
Who made money off my energy?
Well, I think
You know, like, imaginary uncle. It ain't nobody singing. Just, let me get that. You know, so
I think that's what's happening with the kept woman, though.
the kept woman.
So either modern time, women are putting demands upon the man in order to provide the very same kind of lifestyle that maybe it happened in a traditional sense.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is that the market has changed in such a way that the man he doesn't even control himself while he's trying to control her.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to, like, it's just, for one, in a marriage, it should be more of a team effort.
Correct.
It's not me, and even if I am the sole provider, that's one thing, but just because I am don't mean that I have to be controlling. that I have to try to dominate, because you see a lot of men who have this so-called kept woman thing.
Yeah.
They dominate that woman. I mean, she can barely go use the restroom without having to tell him and have permission. You know, well, can you just keep the child for? I just need to. She can't even get a break.
No.
Because he feel like I'm a provider. I did all that, and they talk. A lot of people talk, but they don't walk that walk. Being a provider is one thing, but are you providing emotionally, financially, spiritually, physically? Are you catering to the things that make that person feel great about themselves? Are you trying to help them people overcome? Because we all have things that we need to grow from.
Sure.
And I feel like in a relationship, it ain't just about me focusing on the things that you don't do right. It's about focusing on the things that you do right, and both of us playing off of that and feeding each other positivity to help continue to grow. Because what like you said, what you said, some you said before, you said this on a previous episode. You said the love that what you say? You said the love that brought us together ain't gonna sustain us.
The level of maturity that brought you together will not be enough to keep you together.
Yeah, that was. Could you expound on that?
Yeah, what happens is that most people, when we get together again, we get together based upon our pain.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're meeting someone, they may be 32 years old on paper, but you're probably meeting a 13-year-old at the time. You don't realize that you're dealing with a 13-year-old, and you don't realize you're a 13-year-old because you're interacting like 13-year-olds, right? But most people, when the rubber meets the road and the real demands about what it means to grow up and what it means to be engaged in a relationship, you cannot ask a 13-year-old to do things that a 32-year-old must do.
Yeah.
You just simply cannot. That, like, as an example, if you talk about, you put two 13-year-olds in a conversation or in conflict, what is generally going to happen in that conflict?
They don't end up fighting.
They're going to fight.
Yeah.
They're going to fight, yell. They're going to do everything else. They're going to talk over each other. They're going to do all kind of acting out, right? But if you got two 32-year-old mature people in a conflict, a relationship, how do you think they might handle that?
Totally
If they're going to be totally different.
Yeah.
They're going to be calm, cool, collected. They're going to be open to new ideas and all that kind of stuff. But when you're talking about meeting someone, oftentimes you're meeting them, again, out of your own pain, and you're meeting them out of, let me see what I can get out of them, not necessarily what I can give to them. Because if you think about it, when the man goes off and he is controlling this woman and all that kind of stuff, that's generally because he has no real control in when he makes his own money.
Yeah.
So he's basically projecting onto her all the unresolved stuff that he can't say to the man that's basically feeding his lifestyle. He becomes shut down, becomes silent. If we've seen no better example of this than NFL football players. They make millions and millions of dollars, but have no voice.
Yeah.
They're told to shut up
Yes.
and keep on playing ball.
Be quiet and play.
Be quiet and play.
Yeah.
How I'm making $50 million a year, and I can't even talk. Dang.
I mean, about how controlled it is.
Exactly.
It's very interesting.
I mean, even when you think about it in movies, right?
Yeah.
And you think about it in music and entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, people, they don't have their own voice.
No, they don't.
They will follow whatever the executives tell them to follow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the same thing as being kept.
Yeah, a kept woman. And I hope these ladies are listening, because this is a serious topic, and it's a growing topic. People talking about relationships a lot on social media, and a lot of people talking about relationships because they looking for a financial gain. They don't really care about solving the issues.
Yeah.
They make it seem like they care about solving issues, and they put themselves on a pedestal. And these people just come out of nowhere talking about relationship as if they are specialists, or as if they've been doing this all their life. And for someone to just to talk about relationships, you have to be honest with the people that you're talking to. The people have to know. You have to be, I would say, give a little background about yourself. Like when Mike first came onto our show, we gave in detail background, so you understand the man that you're dealing with, so you can understand who you're talking to. You got to have a background check when it comes to these people that you listening to, because they're giving you advice that can either ruin your life or damage it for the rest of your life, because you're making decisions of somebody on social media who all they care about is their own financial gain. I'm telling you, people have to do their homework and their background check. This man comes highly recommended. This man's background, I could take this notebook and I can go through, like if I was on a computer or something, I looked him up, I can go through everything he's done to say, okay, no, he's the truth. He has the credentials to show that he's been through, he's been tested, and he's passed every test when it comes to his background and his credentials. A lot of these people don't have the credentials. They just talking about how they feel, and they talking to an audience that needs a hero. We always been in the hero business. We always looking for someone to come save us instead of saving ourselves. Mm-hmm. That's why it's easy for people to get on these platforms and manipulate the people into thinking that there's something that they're not. Please do your background check. When you look up Dr. Michael Cook, I guarantee you're gonna see flying colors. Everything A1. There's no shadiness going on in his background. He's 100% legit, and he's helped people over the years in these categories when it comes to marriages and family relationships. We have someone on the show that we know can actually help the people that are watching. We're not here to try to take advantage of you. We actually get something out of it ourselves. Like he said in the beginning, this is a father and son podcast. Mm-hmm. This is my son, and this is what we do, and we try to bring awareness to different topics and issues that's going on currently in our neighborhoods and all across the world. So when we talk about kept women, we love women and we have daughters of our own. So this is a very touchy subject because we have women in our life that we care about and we love, and we want them to have the best advantages when it comes to life and relationships. So yeah, do your background check on the people that you follow, please.
Yeah, and to even touch back on the what we were talking about the kept woman, hearing all the information that we even discussed, it's starting to sound like it's more of a contract on paper, a deal that you're making, and not like it comes with all these conditions, and it's not unconditional love. So a lot of people aren't familiar with that unconditional love because you might not have seen it or felt it or received it, and I think that that's very interesting to see how it's not like it's not an actual relationship. It's more like a contract. Like you said, the football players.
Oh yeah, it's a contract. It's a sharecropping.
Like it's not like
give me this, I'll give you that.
But it's masked as something else.
Absolutely, it's masked as this is love, this is family, but it's not that. It's actually we're trying to work out our own wounds along the way.
Right.
That's the challenge. And people are not going to be honest about that.
It's like you take, for a kept woman in a relationship, it's like a man takes away something, but it replaces it with something. So it's like you never get what you're looking for because even though you have a burden taken away, another burden is placed on you.
Of course.
So it's like, what are we doing? You replacing one burden with another one?
See, I think a lot of times people want the easy road.
Yeah.
They want easy everything.
Yeah.
If you think about it, right, as you all talk about a lot on the show, where people say they don't have time to cook. Mm-hmm. How is it possible that a person don't have time to feed their own self?
Yeah.
That you so busy, you don't have time. You don't have time to stop, to whistle, to smell the roses, and actually cook for your own self.
No, they don't, because after a person work 8 hours, they got to do 4 or 5 hours of Netflix. Why I'm gonna have time to cook in my favorite show on?
I mean, and I think about what you were talking about too. I mean, you got people going, spend their time in that.
Yeah.
And as it was said about this ideal of it's an exchange, really.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my clients recently, and I was explaining to him that your kids, they like you because you have something to give them. Ooh. I said, go broke and see how many times they call you. see how many times they check up on you. And so what I'm saying to these kept women, hey, lose that figure. Don't put on that clown suit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And see what your man will do. He will put you out to pasture and get him something younger and finer and more refined.
Yep.
And you'll be out in the cold. And you'll still be stuck with your pain.
Yep. Dealing with the same issues. And even if you have children by the same man, the relationship with those kids is going to change once you and him are not together.
There's no question about it.
You already barely have a relationship with him now. And he tells you to take them everywhere you go. So what you think going to happen if you two break up? that relationship is gonna it's gonna be more distance put in between him and them children. He thinks money is everything. He thinks that money is what makes him who he is. When money is just a smokescreen covering up what truly lies beneath, which is someone who's dealing with a whole bunch of pain and taking it out on everybody and not looking at the man in the mirror and taking it out on the person who truly deserves to be dealt with. And that's that person that you see when you look at yourself, knowing that you are not being the person who you say you are. It's crazy watching people do these things, and I be looking and I'm like, people really believe this crap.
Well, they have no other choice but to believe. I mean, the fact of the matter is that we get conditioned from early on, from a child, to believe certain things. If you were raised as a child and they told you that the only way that you can get your bottom covered is through a pamper, you're probably going to be conditioned to just use Pampers all the time.
Yeah.
When there are other forms that you could use.
Yeah.
If a person tells you that the only way to be in a relationship is X, Y, Z, you're probably going to be in a relationship in the same way. But by the time most people realize, and we realize how we've been duped,
Yeah.
we really have been duped by that time.
Yeah.
50, 60
Yeah, I mean, we like I was explaining to one of my clients, you don't get anything for free.
No.
And if you're servicing anything, you're losing.
Yeah.
And with this whole business of being a kept woman, the truth of the matter is you're serving someone else's needs while you're trying to get your own needs met. And the truth of the matter is that this person is suffering just like you are.
Yeah.
You know, and now I got a question because, you know, hearing all the information we've given the people, what do you think that people should do? You know, what do you think people should look for instead of this, you know, the type of situation, contract, deal that, you know, people are getting in nowadays? Or do you think people shouldn't look at all?
Well, that's a very good question. I think at the heart of, you know, what it means to be a human being is to be in a relationship. But just like in anything, you don't just simply go out there and just grab the fruit right out of the basket, do you, or just put it in the basket. You spend a little time thinking about it. You bounce it around. I mean, you test it out, you peel it, and you kind of get a sense of what you're really dealing with. But more importantly, we have to, as people, get clear about what we're carrying before we go trying to dump that on somebody else. I had a guy come to me one time and he says that he wanted to be a counselor. And he said that somebody sent him to me to counsel him and to figure out if he was going to go in the counseling program. And he says, I don't know what I should really be working on. I mean, now he came to me saying that he want to go to be in a counseling program. So he wants me to identify what he should be working on his life.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know what you should be working on.
Right.
So I told him, I said, well, I don't know exactly what you should be working on.
Yeah.
But I tell you, a good place to start is the thing that you've been ashamed of all your life. How you start right there.
Yeah.
If you start with that right there, I think you get some traction.
Major breakthrough.
Major breakthrough. I mean, if you just raise the question. So if we're talking about a kept woman, we might even say, hey, look, you may start with the question, what have you been ashamed of all your life that may be driving you to wanting to be a kept woman? And I think everybody listening can relate to the fact that there is something that we feel most ashamed of that we never disclose, but it's always lurking, like fog in the air. It's always there. And if we began to get honest about that and work on that, I think we can have some major breakthrough.
You got out the shower, you looked in the mirror, you see all that flag. No, I'm just joking. No, but before we get up out of here, I just want to say that as always, it's an honor to have you in here and speaking, and I hope the people understand what y'all just got, because a lot of people pay for this. They pay to speak to this man on a daily basis, to pick his brain about life and what it is to better themselves and to come out whatever trauma that they're dealing with. So we don't take this lightly, because life is like it's like a race. It'll be over with before you know it. So while we here, we want to enjoy it. We want to be able to continue to grow, because once you start growing, guess what you do? You start dying. So we want to continue to grow, continue to elevate, continue, because we know we don't know it all. Every day is a day to be a better person and to just be thankful for the day, because the day here is a day that you're not gone. So enjoy it while you're here and continue to reach levels that you never thought you could reach. But Before we get out of here, to wrap it up, what would you say to any woman out there who's listening who may either be in this situation or may find themselves leaning towards this type of situation?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think it kind of goes back to that question again. If you find yourself in a situation and you want to be a kept woman, I think you really have to ask the question, what am I ashamed of? What is it that I'm really dealing with that I think in some ways being a kept woman going to cover that up? Because at some point along the way, it's going to get hot in that situation and you're going to be exposed. By that time, you might have 2 or 3 kids by a man that now you exposed. I mean, maybe he done brought some fire home to you by that time. I mean, there could be a lot of situations that go on. But the main thing is you have to really get and talk to the little girl on the inside and really deal with her about, you know, her own shame. Because there's no way that people can take advantage of you if you actually believe in yourself and have good self-esteem. But a kept woman, more often than not, is taken advantage of, just like a horse or some other animal that's been kept and fed and clothed, but being controlled. It's an animal.
You want to say something in closing?
Yeah, I think the last thing I would like to say to the people, and something, you know, they could take in before you finish this video, is start to try to understand any and every situation you're in when it comes to, or even your relationships with people, or why it is a certain way. You should start asking questions. And even, you know what I'm saying, you don't have to have answers to every question, but to just think about, become conscious about what situation you're in and why you're in there can unlock, it's like an awakening, and you reach a higher level of consciousness. So it's something you should be asking, and just start asking more questions that's not just surface level. Get deep and start to understand yourself, and then you could start to change not only yourself but the world around you.
I think, and I'll say this last thing, that we only get a chance to be human one time. I think that's worth repeating. We only get a chance to be human one time.
Definitely.
Please, by all means, don't be caged all along the way. Be free.
Be free. And with that being said, y'all, we just want to say thanks again for everyone who's tuned in, like, subscribe, and share. And if y'all want to see more of Mike, if y'all got any questions in the comments, leave the questions in the comments, and we definitely answer anything that you guys leave in there. Love, truth, and peace. Let's go. Let's get it. See y'all. Peace out.